Good morning. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. We're at Nashua High North Boardroom. This is the Board of Education.
What are you doing there, Dan?
Decapitation.
And we're going to call this special meeting of the Board of Education to order at 9 o'clock.
Works for you, okay? I'm going to use.
Mr. Donovan's practicing with our screen. We can just move off to the side.
There we go.
HR. That was last week.
From the board this morning, we have Mrs. Oden, Mrs. Hohensee, Mr. Kaufman, Mr. Hollowell, and myself. And we also have Dr. Brown and Mr. Donovan in attendance. Would you like to talk about the budget?
I'd be delighted to talk about the budget, President Farrington.
Sure.
The budget the mayor submitted to the aldermen was reduced by $100,000 from where the Board of Ed voted it. It was further considered but not revised. So what we need to do this morning, or you need to do, is to reduce the school district budget by $100,000. Mr. Donovan and I took a first pass at what we thought would be the most sensible places to go. They are before you. There was an error budgeting for security guard salaries, that's $73,000. We would like to budget Clearway at the 2017 actual. They signaled that they would be in agreement with that. Utilities, both the phone and heating and gas, down by 22 for the total of $100,000. And that would be our recommendation to the board this morning.
Mr. Hollowell.
Move to approve the budget reductions as outlined in the June 19th memo from Mr. Donovan.
Seconded by Mr. Kaufman. Is there any discussion? Well, we'll start over here and come right around. Mrs. Oden.
Yes. How many security guards do we have?
We have 3 at each high school, and we have an outside one, so a total of 7.
Okay. How did we make a
How did
mistake by 70? That's like $10,000 per guard.
Yes. In the download from Lawson, they're in Lawson as full-time employees, but they're only school year employees. So when the download came over, it took their salary multiplied by 2,080 hours, but they only work about 1,480 or so, which is a school year number of hours. So we didn't pick up on that because we download Lawson into a spreadsheet and then bring it into our Access, and we didn't pick up on that. So the key is to fix it in Lawson so it won't happen again.
Okay. When we got that, did we compare it to what we spent this year? I mean, because that's a substantial amount for 7 people.
Well, compare it to what we spent. We do this download like in the beginning of November, so it's hard to compare it to because you've just begun the year.
Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Hohensee.
I just wondered about the Clearway budget. Are we certain that it's going to come in at the same amount? And why isn't that finalized by now? Don't they normally set that up in advance of the school year?
I didn't catch the last part. Why isn't what?
I thought after the budget was, I thought we would have gotten that contract underway.
Mr. Donovan, if I might.
Sure.
Sorry. In part, Mrs. Hohensee, when we did the budget presentation, we used rounded numbers. And Mr. Donovan, do you want to speak to when that contract will be executed?
Well, I've yet to hear back from them since the discussions during.
Chris Notek, could you please dial 2611? Chris Notek, 2611.
So I've yet to hear back from them with the actual contract. I mean, we did have a meeting during that budget process back in the winter, but I have not yet received the contract. Should be getting it soon. I can reach out to them.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Mr. Kaufman, did you have your hand?
Yeah, thank you. Similar question. You said they were open to it. I think I would prefer to know we had an agreement before we would reduce the budget item in case we need that money later on. I realize it's a nominal sum. It's only $5,000. Is there another $5,000? We could leave this alone. You'll have it in the event the contract is signed. It's still in the budget, right? It's not, can we take from another place instead of compromising what we don't know to be a final contract?
Well, I suppose we can, but I think either way, we're going to end up having to make another change later on. Either if the expectation is correct and the budget will be reduced by 5,000, then we're going to have to take it from somewhere else. And but whatever you folks want. And, oh, by the way, and just for the record, Dr. Murataki is in attendance.
If it's normal practice, we move our lines, we move money around all the time, then I'm okay with that. I just, as long as I just want to know that this is not final. It's still subject to our normal moving things around as needed as the cost shift.
I understand, but I assume that this isn't just something that they pulled out of the air, that they have some basis for believing this, but you're right, we can make some revisions. Mrs. Hohensee?
I'd move to remove this, amend the motion to remove this item.
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Is there any, Mr. Hallwell?
So the board can always move money. I mean, if the contract were to come in higher, you would move money from somewhere else. I don't know where yet, but you could. So I don't really know why we would remove the item. You know, we don't have the contract yet, so all we're doing is setting up the budget for that item. We don't know what it'll be. They did indicate that they could come in flat when we did talk to them. They indicated they might want more, but they understood where we were. So my impression is I don't think this is going to be a problem, but I guess if it turned out we had no other choice, we could find money somewhere else. But this is really just for planning purposes for the most part.
And we'll know the number for the Clearway budget within a...
Well, the reality is the Clearway is two pieces. There's the special ed students
Right.
and the typical students. Typical students, it's one line item, okay, in the budget. The special ed students, it's part of the whole $4.7 million out-of-district tuition number. So $5,000 and 4.7 million line item that we're not going to know until May of 2018 if we're near that number. So it's a fairly safe place to have it as I
Dr. Brown,
choose the
I'm sorry.
sped side.
Thanks.
Dr. Brown,
And-
did you have something? Go ahead.
And we rounded, didn't we? I mean, this represents closer to the actual dollars spent.
Yes. For example, one of the two contracts was $293,000. When we were doing the budget exercise, we were using $300,000. So there's a $7,000 difference. This is just reducing it by 5.
Mrs. Oden, did you have something?
Yes, if I remember correctly, we had tabled a motion for technology at one of our meetings because we weren't sure what was going to be approved by the alderman.
Those are
I believe
proposals
you
for
made the
purchases-
motion.
For purchases in fiscal 18, that's right.
Yes, so why don't we take the $5,000 out of there rather than to take it out of Clearway?
Mr. Kaufman, did you have your hand up?
I did, thank you. And I would like to, could you please, can someone answer Mrs. Oden's question first, and then I'll be happy to make my comment. I just don't want to lose train of thought there.
Well, the suggestion of the 5,000, we're not taking it out of Clearway. We budgeted $7,000 more in Clearway for fiscal year 18 than we had a contract for in fiscal year 17. So it's reducing the amount of the increase in the budget from 18 to the actual in 17.
Mr. Kaufman?
Thanks. I was just curious if you had an idea about what the enrollments might be for next year. Because that was one of the, for Clearway. Yeah, because that was one of the discussion points, is that we were going to have more ongoing discussions with Clearway and work perfectly at this time of year, right, in June, to line the kids up so that they would be ready to start on time in the fall, where we would have less opportunities to have empty seats because we were going to spend more time, I'll just call it recruiting those students that might be the best candidates. So, and then there was the discussion that they may buy back some seats from us, right?
Right.
So, and that's based upon our demand, which would be predicated on the enrollment. So I'm just curious, how has that all unfolded? Do we have any projected from
I
Clearway?
haven't spoken with that would be the high school guidance department, so would have
Okay.
that. I haven't personally spoken with them.
Okay. Okay.
What's our total budget for fiscal 18?
106,687,405.
Okay. Whether it's 4.7 million or $106.6 million, where we haven't even started the fiscal year yet, to try and fine-tune this budget by $5,000 in a $5,000 increment, I think is, quite frankly, a waste of our time. If we can do this, and seems to be a reasonable a $5,000 change in that budget, particularly as Mr. Donovan had pointed out, is in the special ed portion of 4.7 million. I don't think it's unreasonable. All we're trying to do is reconcile our bottom line number so that it matches what the city has approved, and we can move forward and begin to work through the process. And as has been pointed out here several times, there were various changes that occur throughout the year, and so I'm not going to support doing this, because we could be here all morning moving $5,000 around. And Mr. Hallwell.
So, I mean, as we found out when we were talking to Clearway, it matters little whether we send one student or 40 students. We pay basically a contract for their services. So I think we should find out the answer as to whether that's progressed the way we wanted it to, but I don't think that's relevant to the discussion about this 5,000. And as Mr. Donovan points out, we used numbers that were higher than what they had come in at before. So this is just an estimate. I mean, they could come in, they could come in with a contract that's 10% more. We have no idea at this point. So I do think, Mr. Donovan, we might want to reach out to Clearway and they maybe have been waiting for the budget to be finalized before they sent the contract. I don't know. I don't know when we normally, I feel like it's about this time of year, June or July, that we vote on that contract. So I don't think this is that unusual for it to be late, but I don't support the amendment.
And I probably should be clear. I don't mean to be cavalier about $5,000. I think it's an important amount of money, but in the scheme of things, I think that we should just reconcile this budget, get our bottom line set, and then it's kind of a living document. It changes, as we all know, and it's still in the works here, the end of fiscal 17. Was there a hand over here somewhere?
Actually, I had one more point, sorry.
Mrs. Hohensee.
Can we call the motion, roll call?
Sure. Well, I have the informal roll call here because I didn't have the form. I guess I have the form beside me.
Are we voting on now?
On the amendment. I'm sorry?
Ms. Hohensee
Oh,
called
that's
the
right.
motion.
To move the motion. To move the question. We'll go down.
Amendment.
No, first was the motion to move the question. So we'll,
For the amendment, you're
an
correct,
extra
though.
vote.
That would be the motion we would vote on immediately.
Thank you.
Yes.
so do you want a roll call on moving the question?
No,
Okay.
on the,
Okay.
Substance.
So is, all those in favor of moving the question, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, we're to the question, and the motion is to amend this proposal to remove $5,000 on the Clearway line. And there you would like a roll call.
yes, please.
Okay, to remove $5,000 for on the Clearway line, Mrs. Oden,
Yes.
Mrs. Hohensee,
Yes,
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Mr. Hollowell,
No?
Mr. Farrington votes no, Dr. Murataki.
No.
Okay, the motion fails on a tie vote. We're back to the original motion, is to approve the administration's proposal to reconcile our fiscal 18 budget. Is there any further discussion on that motion?
Roll call.
Roll call. Mrs. Oden?
No.
Mrs. Hohensee?
No.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Hollowell?
Yes.
Mr. Farrington is yes. Dr. Murataki?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 4-2 vote. Is there anything else we need to talk about this morning? Mr. Hollowell?
Well, since, I think it was Mrs. Oden brought up the tabled motion for technology, the only reason we did that was because we were worried about the end-of-year number. Do we need to be worried about the end-of-year number so that we should continue
No, that was
holding
for
it?
fiscal year 18. We were worried about any changes to our budget, because that was fiscal year
So is-
18
Right.
spending.
Is there any reason I couldn't take that off the table?
I'm having to take notes. How's that? For a reason.
Well, we can do it. I mean, we
It
can
was,
do it
it was
Monday. We
scheduled for
should-
next Monday, which is fine also, if you want to do it
Okay.
now.
We'll just
either
have a
way.
board meeting? Yeah. Okay,
Can we just
so,
make sure that ends up on the agenda?
Yes.
That's there.
anything else from anyone? Okay.
Move to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Hollowell, seconded by Dr. Murataki. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned at 9:18.